day I'm rising to my inner vision.
Welcome to the Unknown Tribe, Palmaïa's channel, where we interview all the amazing people that come through the resort. I'm Alex, I'm the host, and today we have no other than Joe Martino, founder of the Collective Evolution and the Pulse, conscious media channel that was started like, 10 years ago, I'd say?
16 now.
16 years ago.
Yeah.
Gosh, we're getting old, eh?
Oh, that's it.
There we go. So anyway, first thing I'd like to ask is, how would you differentiate between a conscious media channel and a mainstream media channel? What is the difference, really? Are we just talking about spirituality and they talk about current affairs, or how would you phrase it?
Yeah.
Because I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it's a good question. I always start with what are we conscious of? So it's kind of like in the mainstream media, oftentimes you're getting, here is sort of like the ways in which that humanity already looks at so many of the things that are happening. You'll get political ideology. You might just get straight up journalism.
Yeah.
Delivering you the facts, or there's some spin, there's some narrative, propaganda perhaps, depending on the channel. Conscious media, at least the way I've always defined it, is how do we look at or be conscious of what might be driving a story? So going deeper into what about humanity? What about our consciousness? What about our ways of being, our ways of thinking, our worldview is present in a particular story, or is driving the way our society functions. So when we're looking at our economic story, for example, and you see global politics all the time, and you're seeing people, politicians battling with each other, doing different things. Yeah. We see that a lot right now in the sphere. And the question is this way of running politics, is this way of running global affairs creating a good outcome for the vast majority of humanity? Or is it creating a not so good outcome?
For me, it seems also that the mainstream media is like adrenaline based almost, like what's going to and they all pump the same narrative at the same time. Whereas what I like about your channel also is that it's sometimes it's like, I don't give a damn what's going on. This is my message to humanity right now. And it's always something very deep and interesting. And it's almost to it gives you a pause from the mainstream, Yeah. So I think that's interesting. And also, you're not just conscious media. I'd say also you're now what we call independent media, right? And I think, for example, in my case, many other people's cases, we discovered more independent media in COVID, right? Because COVID hit suddenly, and the mainstream narrative didn't make much sense. And a lot of us ended up gravitating towards independent media that had a different voice. So why don't you tell me a bit about how you started it, and how you were doing, and how successful it was, and what happened pre-COVID?
Yeah, sure. So 16 years ago, in a basement in the town I almost grew up in, right in and around that area.
Startup culture. That's
it. That's how she goes. I started with an idea of I was always somebody who thought outside the box as a kid, but I met somebody that really challenged me to question so much about who I am, where my thoughts came from. Why did I believe what I believed? Just about even my cultural upbringing, right? Wow. And as I started to explore this stuff, I started to see hey, there's a whole other way to view life, the world. I see you're having some giggles probably.
Outside the matrix, right?
Yeah, outside the matrix, right? And that's really what it was about at the beginning, was kind of really exploring these big questions of who are we? Why are we here? What is driving us to be the way they are? And it started with just looking at myself, right? And the idea was, how do we share this idea that, because this was kind of shared with me as this theory, that we're going through a time that, ancients had talked about for a long time, this grand shift of human consciousness. Now there's been so many different perspectives over the years as to hey, is it everything's going to happen in one day, or is there going to be some magical thing? Whatever. I always saw it as it was a slow unfoldment of this 3D material reality, if you will. It was a slow unfoldment of more and more consciousness coming into the experience. And that is what this shift was kind of having this evolution of collective consciousness, which is where collective evolution came from. And how could we steward that conversation without agenda, but just kind of offer ideas? How could we inject that level of thinking into all areas of society? So the way we look at politics, nature, each other, relationships, even science, right? That's a big thing that's also
And
changing.
how did it feel at the beginning? Because it seems like me, like, as there's been a great awakening, as they call it, since COVID, especially, 16 years ago, it feels like if you'd done that, it'd be like, crickets in a room, right? Did anyone listen to you? How did it go? How did you grow it? And what happened? No?
Online at that time, it was crickets. It was like, who was out there was like David Icke and Alex Jones.
Wow.
When it came to like alternative thinking stuff, right? And there was a lot of books, right? So people would gather this information through books, and then also email lists were fairly popular back then. But there wasn't a lot of media. There wasn't a lot of content being put out regularly. And this type of voice was not really being injected into looking at the world. So it took us probably a good 2 years of producing regular content and going through.
And at that time, it was on just a web page or newsletters or
web page primarily, with a little bit in the later parts of it, a little bit of Facebook, but not tons yet.
Okay, so early days,
And it was just regularly creating content and finding a voice. And the biggest change that really blew CE up was moving from sort of keeping it in the realm of bigger picture metaphysics, right? So it's easy to talk really big picture metaphysics, and you can kind of stay there, but that's not how we live day to day, right? So once we started to really bring that metaphysics into everyday practical reality and apply that sort of new way of seeing things to our everyday life, that's when things exploded.
Can you give me examples of like how you would do that then, and the articles, how they would be different from like?
Sure. Yeah. Like even if you think about this concept of a shift in consciousness, right? It's like you would hear people say, oh, there's a shift happening and we're all going to transcend to 5D and this. And it's like, so what does that mean? Right. And if that's happening, what does that mean? Right. What are we expecting to see? What part do we play in it? Is it happening to us or are we part of it? Like what's going on?
It's a very difficult subject to embark on, that's for sure. So kudos for even like attempting it, that's for sure.
So we kind of just stayed away from, to some extent, a lot of the metaphysical framings, in the sense of it's not like, oh, we're transitioning to a 5D state of consciousness. It's more like, look, we're realizing as a society, everybody's feeling, everybody's seeing it, that the way our systems are set up, they're not sustainable. They're not producing a world where we can thrive. We're literally just getting by. People are seeing the corruption. They're seeing issues with the way society is designed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so they're expanding their consciousness. And when you start to break an illusion, which is the first step of our framework, is breaking the illusion. When you start to break the illusion, you have this opportunity to go, okay, what else can I question? And if I'm breaking the illusion about that, I'm starting to expand what is possible for all of the things that we're talking about, whether it's the way our society is designed, all the things I've mentioned, seeing each other.
How would you describe, for example, what it means to be more conscious, right? Because a lot of people in the spiritual world, they get into these little bitch fights and like, I'm more conscious than you. I mean, you can't even measure that, right? It's ridiculous. It seems like but what is it to be more conscious than you were previously or something, right?
I always look at it as being closer to your authentic self. And having a deeper sense of the connection and impact you have with everything.
Living according to your divine energy, right? An authentic voice,
Sure. And think about it. If I'm conscious of the way I'm interconnected with, if my decision to do something, it doesn't matter what it is going to impact a whole bunch of people, it's kind of emergent within your knowing when you're more conscious, so to speak, which means you're more kind of settled into yourself. You're more kind of expanded in not seeing the world as just the reality that's immediate in front of me and it's about me and whatever I'm doing. It's more interconnected. It's more of a worldview that we often discuss or indigenous cultures have often brought forth. But that worldview of seeing our interconnection, seeing our relationship with one another, seeing the importance of stewarding the earth, not necessarily just protecting the earth, but actually being a part of it,
being custodians of the whole all the ecosystems and everything that lives within them, right?
So that consciousness, I actually think, is our birthright. That is, if you talk about a physiological state, that is our birthright. It is a deep connection with ourselves and a deep regulation within, let's say, the nervous system, whereby naturally emergent from that state, which would be opposed to being in a state of survival, but naturally emergent from that state of thriving is this knowing that we're connected to things, right? And in that space, you are naturally more conscious of what you're doing. You're more present. You're more here. You're more aware.
Yeah. And is that the principle of, like, for example, being a sovereign being, right? Where we're sovereign in this world, so we have right to everything within our system, but without being controlled by a system, right?
Yeah.
How would you? Because a lot of people speaking now about sovereign freedom, sovereign this and sovereign that, and a lot of people also speak about being a sovereign being,
Yeah.
which is like you being free within the world and having the divine right to be the authentic person you are without being limited by legal systems, governments, or whatever, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say because I think a lot of I agree with the general idea. I think the challenge is that you can have like a very sovereign free movement
Yeah.
that is espousing those ideas, but is still ideologically driven to the point
By
where
a
they're not
political side or
really,
something.
they're not really coming together either. It's sort of like, leave me alone, let me do my thing, let me be over here. But I think that while we can look throughout history and we can see that there have always been conflicts, right? It's a natural part of the human experience. Even indigenous cultures that believe in interconnection, there have been conflicts, right? But there's something I believe that is more about us even challenging these ideas of just, look, let me just live the life I want and be on my own but really just look at, like, what is it that we're afraid of when it comes to connecting with other people, when it comes to having stewardship. Like, I shouldn't be afraid per se, right? And this is a in-depth conversation, but I shouldn't be afraid of having a body of elders, let's say, stewarding some of, let's say there was decisions that needed to be made about how we were taking elements of nature from the land.
Native Americans had the perfect system, I guess, like that, right?
Well, yeah, to some extent, right? So there's stewardship there.
Yeah.
And is that stewardship, is it telling you that you can't just do whatever you want to do? Yeah, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Why are we afraid of that? Why are we afraid of not just doing whatever we want to do without recourse?
Well, it depends what you want to do, right?
Exactly. Right. And so this is where
if there's ethics, morality, and divinity and spirituality, then that guiding force leads to, I assume what you want to say is like a correct way of doing things, which is good for the planet and the people in your spirituality.
Yeah.
Not negative for other people within your surrounding, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the idea of if we were all going to be able to thrive by me taking less of something, let's just say as an example, I don't feel like I should be saying, you know what, though, I'm going to take it anyway because I'm a sovereign being.
Yeah.
And that's where I always, I like to bring that into the fold, because it's like, let's get specific about the fact that we share
sovereignty with responsibility.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then where does that responsibility emerge? Is it through dialogue and learned behavior, or is it emergent within us? Yeah. Right. And that's an interesting question.
I guess. Yeah.
Right.
And back to your media journey then. So how did, once you started creating all this content, how did you grow? Did it become a business? It was, that you could thrive off, and what happened pre-COVID? How was it, like the years leading to COVID? How big was it? What are you doing? How many employees do you have?
Yeah.
What were you doing? What strategies did you use to make it grow? I mean, all these things are all very interesting as well to me.
Yeah. Yeah. The old business model.
Exactly.
So by around late 2011, I believe it was, we decided to monetize.
Okay.
We used Google Ads to essentially, make money off of driving traffic to our website.
Okay.
And that kind of was the beginning game changer that allowed us to start developing resources. And because we had also in and around that time begun changing the way we were framing the content to be more relatable to the existing culture, it just kind of grew very, very, very fast.
Wow.
And it went from like, you're making $5,000 a month to now you're making 30, 40, 50, 60. And it just went.
And
really
mainly
fast.
through online advertising, Google, or through other things as well?
Yeah. At the beginning, it was all that. And then we started to get into the affiliate marketing, and that kind of stuff, being choosy about who we worked with. But getting into that. And then, the story, I mean, if you want the story, that's kind of the whole thing. After doing that for a while, and really building that for a while, we got to in and around late 2016, 2017, there was the Hillary Trump election. And there was a lot happening, if you remember, with the Hillary Clinton emails. WikiLeaks was dropping stuff constantly, right? And there was, I think there was starting to become a cultural zeitgeist of realizing that the independent media was having as much influence on collective consciousness as mainstream media.
Yeah.
And when that started to happen, I think powerful people began to go, okay, something needs to be done about this. And that's where that's where the beginning of censorship happened, right?
Okay, so you found censorship before COVID even?
Oh, 100%. It was worse before COVID.
What type of censorship did you come across then? Like,
so like for example, there was a day, and I don't remember the date. Some of my friends who it happened to would remember the date, but it was about 700 to 1,000 Facebook pages and brands were eliminated.
I heard of
in
that.
one day.
Yeah.
In 2017, I believe it was. And it was clear coordination between Google, Facebook, Twitter at the time, and sometimes even YouTube.
So search results are affected as well, not just Facebook pages, everything. Yeah.
But it would be like you have an account on Facebook, you have an account on Twitter, and you have an account on, let's say, I mean, Instagram was somewhat there, but even just, let's just use YouTube.
I don't think they were monetizing that much at the time, Instagram was.
Yeah, they would just remove all of your accounts in one day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so that was like the, the great deletion of Facebook pages of 2017. Right?
Exactly.
That was like,
but you survived that one, or
we did.
Wow.
But we survived because, and again, some of my colleagues get a little annoyed when we say this, but I believe it's true. We did things differently, right? Like we were not as extreme, we were not as polarizing. We were a neutral voice. We talked about a lot of the subjects, but we had a lot of journalistic rigor throughout the years. We had fact checkers on the team. Like we were trying to do things as legit as we could, even though our budgets were millions. The budgets of, a lot of these mainstream media outlets are like hundreds of millions, in some cases, billions, I'm sure, right? So even with what we had, we were trying to do a lot and trying to do it as right as we could. And I think that made a difference to some extent.
And how did you measure? With subscribers? Did you measure with page visits? How do you measure your success at the time?
Success is a funny word. How well was it doing? I mean, we had great profit margins. We had a team of about 14 employees. At the height, maybe a couple more if you add in some freelancers. We had, beautiful office where we all took company trips together, right? All these.
You had a great business going, basically.
It was fantastic, right? And I would say also too, like we were getting emails a lot of the impact that you would make, or people who would do projects in their town based on the stuff that they would see.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit. Sorry, man.
It's okay.
You can do it. Come on. Tell us what happened in COVID. Well, the world needs to know.
The censorship at the beginning was like, it just destroyed everything.
Yeah, but how quick was it? Like
within like a year and a half.
So when COVID hit, like I guess you're talking March, is it 2020? March, was it 2020? Yeah, so basically, so when it hit...
My brain's gone.
No, it's good, man. So don't worry about it. You got all the time in the world.
Yeah, it was like... So essentially, it was like, imagine... But
it wouldn't happen immediately, right? Because they were like, when it happened, everyone was just confused and were bringing all the news out, and no one even knew where to look for a few months, right?
But even before COVID, it was like essentially, you had 2017, it started, and it was they were coming, like you're watching your revenue every month. Like here's the true story of what happened with Google. We would say you're going to make at the end of the month, say, I'll just pick a number that's round because it's easy. Like, oh, okay, you're going to make $20,000. Yeah. And then so you look at your accounting and you say, okay, there's 20,000 in ads coming in. They always pay you in 23 days. And then you'd get a payment in, and instead of 20,000, it would be like $10,000.
Wow.
And you would go and why are you keeping 50%? Yeah. And they'd say, oh, well, all that's invalid traffic.
That's crazy.
And we'd be like, what are you talking about?
They can dictate whatever they want on their platform, right?
We'd be like, what are you talking about? We've been using you guys for 8 years, and we've never had more than the industry average, which is like 1 or 2% invalid traffic. That's normal, right?
That's crazy, yeah.
And all of a sudden it's 50%. Then next month it was 60%. The next month it was 70%. And then next month it was 80%. So they were literally just forcing us out because in my view, our platform had the largest influence at the time in the conscious media field. And I think that if they had ousted us, this is my theory, I don't know this for sure, but if they had just ousted us off the platform, it would have been a big story.
But I think conscious media, when you say you're really just, for them, it's just independent media, right? They're not looking at whether it's conscious or this or...
Yeah, they're looking at it as
independent media that isn't
media.
Part of the mainstream narrative, right?
Right. I don't think that the mainstream would have fully appreciated the sort of the worldview aspect that we were bringing to the.
Do you know where I noticed the censorship as a reader in 2017, 18? I used to read like the Guardian newspaper in the UK. I used to read the online version because it was really nice digital format. But I didn't read it all. I used to read this nice environmental section, which used to have some interesting articles, right? And I noticed that suddenly in 2017, 18, they started with this massive anti-vax narrative, right?
Yep.
And it was but the strange thing was about those articles was that you could usually comment on all these articles, but the anti-vax articles had no comments allowed.
Right.
And that was weird to me.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because so you couldn't question or discuss anything. Right? And I was like, what's going on? This is weird. And then I eventually found out after COVID, obviously, that the newspaper was in financial dire straits, and the Bill and the Melinda Gates Foundation went in and gave them about 180 million and basically saved them. And then from there on, they became another COVID mouthpiece.
Sure,
right?
Sure. Yeah.
So I did, as you said, I think more places than one, it's just been the coordinated attack definitely started before COVID, right?
For sure. And like people were just being ousted. And what ended up happening was it was like they eliminated what we often call like the original independent media and then replaced it, a part of it just by market conditions, replaced it with the people who had come late to the game who now saw opportunity, like financial opportunity. Yep. And so like a lot of the independent media brands, influencers, faces that you see out there, I don't think they would have joined that field if it wasn't already massive and like there was a massive hole to fill. Because it was like you're talking about a multi-hundred million, if not billion-dollar industry that was just filled by the 1%, by opportunists who saw an opportunity. And what the worst parts about it is you went from having sort of this more independent-minded, so less political orientation, more independent-minded brands wiped out. What came in was all political minds.
Yeah, so even though it's independent, it's still politicized in a way because you're 100%. One side or another, right?
Right. So you look at most of the big brands in independent media now, they're all conservative.
Yeah.
Right? So this is where when you look at the worldview of a lot of the people who have kind of woke up, say through COVID and all these sorts of things, if you look closely, they're all conservatives. Yeah. And even if they're not necessarily identifying as conservatives, most of their positions on everything
it's interesting.
is conservative because that culture has informed a huge part of the alternative thinking sphere.
Yeah, I think although it depends like whether it's good or bad, we don't know yet. But definitely, the good part of it is I think even that big push towards that independent media, the way they've done it, at least it's like woken up a lot of people as well. I think,
100%.
And from then, at least if you wake up, you can then question and go into other forms of media and find more conscious media afterwards, right? But I think almost that explosion of independent media and of that, even if it's politicized, led to this like a lot more people realizing corruption, what's going on. 'Cause many people are like, oh, my government would never do anything to me, right? But, it's not your government. It's a bunch of people who are working, colluding together to get what they want, right, out of the world. So
100%.
Definitely.
It all has played a role, right? In a sense, like everything that has happened has happened, and the outcomes have generally been like, I don't want to 100% say that it's been a net positive, but we're still moving toward more people asking questions. Yeah. But just because we're asking questions, it doesn't mean that the answers that we're going to put in place are going to necessarily really resemble progress. Yeah. That's where there's a very, very careful sort of stewarding of collective conversation that has to be wise, that needs to be in this picture right now.
Well, I think that'll be the defining factor of humanity, right? Whether we step up to this new world and this new consciousness and take it forward in a way that benefits everyone, no?
Yeah.
For sure.
That's what I'm hoping for.
So should we go back to the COVID again?
Yeah. So essentially...
So basically, when COVID hit, what did you do? Like, what was happening?
So at that point, we had pretty well lost most of our team. We were down from 14 to probably like 4-ish or something in that range, running on fumes, spending. Because we were making so much profit for all those years.
You have more expenses as well, of course, right? So
yeah, but we started to cut those, but we had tons of savings.
Yeah, okay.
So we lived off of savings for years. Okay. And if we didn't have that, or if,
that's amazing.
Wasn't a good entrepreneur,
you gotta do the accounting, right,
No, but if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have kind of been able to stick around as long.
That's amazing.
Because it wasn't really until 2023 where we really kind of had to say, okay, we gotta we gotta like kind of pause the way we're doing it and like restructure stuff. But COVID hit in 2020. We were again running on fumes and still telling the COVID story as we saw it based on what was there. So really that was a lot of platforming ideas.
Is this when the Pulse came about?
Pulse came about in 2021.
Okay.
And the goal there was such a hunger for information that was different from the mainstream.
Yes.
But what COVID represented was a whole slew of people that did not trust the extreme alternative media.
Interesting.
Who, to be honest, in my opinion, they were very extreme, a lot of the alternative media. Everybody's going to die in a year of the vaccine, all this stuff, right? And, you know, the people that were kind of waking up, let me get really specific.
It's an information overload almost, right?
But
Too much.
It's also more so, you have people that believed the mainstream narrative for a long time. A crisis was occurring, and those people, they're just going, something doesn't feel right, but I'm not really sure. You can't necessarily go to the most conspiratorial voices, right? And so there was a huge hunger for just like legit, what is the facts around the alternative perspective?
I also feel that the most conspiratorial voices have been so pre-censored since God knows when, that already all their bios everywhere are so like, they're so ridiculed everywhere online that anyone who probably heard that would think, oh, they're crazy. Then they go and check them online at the usual Wikipedia on places, right? And they completely destroy them online as well. Oh, this is ridiculous.
Yes.
So they're not going to want to believe it or go into the information, right? Yeah. So as you said, a more soft approach probably was what did better to people for sure.
For sure. And to be fair, a lot of those voices are ridiculous. Yeah. Right? Like some of them are legit. Yeah. Others are, they are wrong most of the time. Right? So it's kind of like it was like a weird correction in what was happening, and I think this happened through COVID. Is you had the alternative sphere have this opportunity to bring in a whole new slew of people that were coming, you know, professors and scientists and you know, intelligent people, even people leaving mainstream media. Yeah. Coming into the picture and saying, let's bring more standards, more clarity, better ethos to this, which is helpful, but also it became a limited hangout. It became very conservative. Yes. It sometimes was, you could see that there was a lack of total picture experience. What I mean by that is like, when you're first starting to learn about some of the ways so many of our collective stories are interconnected, it's like, well, you know, maybe the corruption is here, but not really there. Like, well, it's kind of all, you know,
everywhere,
corruption just everywhere, right? And so it a lot of what was happening was serving the masses who were starting to question things. So it played a role, but yeah, COVID, the Pulse came out as an opportunity to say, hey, we're going to create a new brand that hasn't been totally smeared online unfairly.
Of course.
And we're going to keep it more journalistic, but we're still going to inject our sort of worldview perspective of let's think bigger about it. Let's get deeper into what is driving society. Let's understand the consciousness behind the design of our society. And it did really well, really fast, but we also had a lot of audience. Yeah. But in the later parts of 2022 and maybe even 2023, like we couldn't compete with the voices that were yelling at the top of their lungs that everybody is going to die and that this and that, like, because a lot of the people that became popular, they were essentially creating media that matched people's physiological state at the time. Yeah. People were depressed, they were upset, they were angry, they were in survival mode.
The fear, absolutely.
Right? So people creating content that was throwing out that resonant frequency was resonating with all the people that were out there. And so people who were more chillaxed and a little bit more grounded in their perspective, there was a lot smaller group of people that was interested in that. But when they did connect with the work, they were like, this is profound. Yeah. Right? But, you know, then there was the challenges of the market was different. You now have these incredibly wealthy scientists and celebrities and people that are now joining the independent media sphere, taking huge dollars away from all of the independents who've been around for a while. Yeah. And you're looking at it, you're going, man, like you guys are already independently wealthy. Like, why are you collecting and taking all the money away from the independent media, right? But it is what it is. Like, I mean.
Yeah, well, it's like a business and you've got to find a way to compete, innovate and differentiate, right? Yeah. So yeah. And so what percentage of like when the censorship maxed out, what percentage of revenue had you lost then by then?
Oh yeah, like probably 90 to 95.
My God.
Yeah.
So how do you survive?
Well, savings, right?
Yeah.
And we
Yeah,
had
but
pivoted.
if you hadn't had savings then,
Oh yeah, we would have been
toast.
so like so many of our colleagues, they were
That's
just
crazy.
done. They were just done.
It's crazy.
Like we had pivoted and pivoted and
Yep.
pivoted and
Well, you
and
have
done-
to find the the growth.
And
path
every
or
time you
something, yeah.
pivot, like something else would happen, like
Wow.
some other thing would happen. And you know, at the end of the day, it's like it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, there's not much I can do about it. I don't like you see emotions still arise from time to time
Well,
when I think
obviously,
about it.
yeah.
But it would be like this, like you can relate. Imagine you have this beautiful place.
Yeah.
It's your baby, right?
Well, it is.
and then imagine for no good reason at all, somebody comes and just takes it away from you, says you're bad,
Yeah.
and says you just can't have it anymore.
No, it's crazy. It's
would
like
feel
the whole
horrible.
everything's unfair. Absolutely, yeah.
And I've said this a lot, like even what happened to us is a perfect example of how humanity does not think about how it treats people.
Yeah.
Because I could have very easily been one of the other millions of people that get treated extremely unfairly, who becomes an addict.
Yep.
Who then is on the streets and everybody goes, you're a piece of shit, you're an addict, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but it was greater society who did
That put me
something
in that position.
and didn't think about the impact of being irresponsible with people's emotions. They're fucking human beings.
Yeah.
You can't treat people like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I think it's just an interesting story.
Yeah. But I think like how to solve it, right? It's like how can it not happen? Is basically I think the only way is like it's got to change has to come in from the top, right? Like because the corruption in the end led to all the censorship, right? The fact that businesses could buy the government could collude with business, powerful individuals can own businesses and then reach agreements with other governments, countries, and everything.
Yeah.
So all the corruption really led to, at least the squashing of the people always, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're just minions in the end, no?
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're
so what are we going to do about it? What are you doing now then? So after being crushed yourself, and at like minus 95% revenue, what are you doing?
Well,
because you're still going. I mean, still pumping out amazing content all the time. So what keeps you going?
So, I mean, it was the most passionate thing I was ever. I can't even talk about it.
And how many people do you have now? Like, I know. It must be difficult. Well, we're all here to help you. So everyone listening is here to help you as well. So I'm sure many people will go in and find the link and join as well and see what you're writing, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I think...
So I'll answer the question.
Go on then. Tell us where you want to go from here then.
Like I never wanted to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Right. It was more like you didn't have a choice as to how much time I could do it. But the experience of when the censorship began, it was like the beginning of everywhere you tried to pivot and make a change. Every knob you tried to turn, every problem you tried to solve.
Like they were after you.
It was like it didn't work, and you're eventually just burning out. And that's what happened. Is I burnt out. Like I literally lost my health. I lost my ability to think clearly. Like that's ultimately what happened after about 2 years. So by late 2019, I was like, I would sometimes be like comatose on the couch, just I just can't do anything, that kind of feeling.
Crazy.
But that was like, somebody who's always been interested in personal development, personal growth.
Yep.
I was like, I'm not going to live like this. Like, this is insane. I'm not going to feel like I have no energy every day. I'm not going to do that, especially since I have experienced what it's like to have like what feels like infinite energy, right? Like doing what you're doing what you love, right? So you have a something to look at in comparison. But that drove me into really getting into nervous system work, trauma healing, all that kind of realm. And so I spent about 5 years so far learning, training, exploring, researching, and working in that field alongside what I was already doing. Yeah. And in a way, right, it has been a very important sort of piece of information to add to the mix of what I had been doing all of this time, because we had something that we put on our website in around maybe late 2016, 2017. I can't remember exactly when, but it was a little prompt at the top of all the articles that would say, take a moment,
breathe.
sense your breath and just feel. And the whole idea of it, and breathe into your heart and whatever, the whole idea of it is to create a better physiological state where somebody's not just go, moving, piece of content, next piece of content, next piece of content, right? But it's something that allows you to feel what you're reading a little bit more deeper and bring more attention to how it is that you respond to what it is that you are reading with a sense of curiosity. So it was a, in our modern culture, our best attempt at trying to help create a better physiological state. I don't know why I get so emotional.
Wow, but in the end, when you think about it, but imagine the beauty of it. I
just feel like these ideas are so fucking good.
They are. And
nobody
brilliant.
Nobody wants to do it.
They do. We're all here.
It's stupid.
I'm here. We're all here. Absolutely. You know.
It's like,
no, it is. It's so good. It's so good. No, the problem is that don't forget that people are so stuck in the system and the routines and the kids and the work and the dog and this. The system has made us not have time for ourselves, right?
Sure.
And if we don't have time for ourselves, how are we supposed to learn disciplines and methods and things that help ourselves? We don't invest in ourselves because that's what the system is designed to do, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, we need to make people aware and realize that taking a step back and investing in yourself is what's going to lead to better healing and better success and more happiness, right?
Agreed. We do have to turn off these sprinklers though, because I keep getting water in my eyes.
God, turn off.
It's not
It's
my
all
fault.
good, brother. It's all good. It's all good.
No, I agree. Like, the ways in which society is designed to keep everybody moving at 100 miles an hour, it's hard to want to take the time to look deeper and feel deeper.
Yeah.
And even amongst people who are interested in a lot of this stuff, like a lot of times you'll have open-minded, conscious folks that don't even want to think about the state of the world because, in my opinion, they don't have the capacity to really think about it, right?
Yeah.
And it is painful and it is hard. But I also think it's to some degree necessary.
Yeah.
Right? This is our moment. Like this is what we're experiencing. This is the story that humanity has unfolded.
Yeah.
Like you can't just solely avoid it and say it's negative, right?
And I always say, what a great privilege for our soul to have chosen our body at this exact moment when all this is culminating and happening at the same time, and so many things are happening, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think back 1,000 years. If you're born if you're living in a house in medieval times in the countryside, and you've got your dogs and you've got your pigs and things. I mean, what are you going to think about? Not much, right?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine now the amount of things we can think about that are here to wake us up and expand our mind and raise consciousness, right?
Sure. Think about those times, right? Those people at that time their life was simpler.
It was very simple indeed. Yeah. Well, survival was tough.
The survival was tough, but what did they start to do? They started to create incredibly simple technologies that actually gave them time.
Yeah.
One of those was the plow.
The plow,
right?
Indeed, yeah.
By creating the plow, they were able to create surplus of food.
Yes.
With surplus of food, it means they didn't have to work all the time.
And they could move around more as well.
They could also trade and do different things, but they could move around. They could do things. It brought them more time to some extent. Now, you can argue
we've taken that to extreme.
In another way that the invention of the plow created the beginning of this technological...
Of agriculture.
Right? Yeah. But you could say that initially, in some of those early moments, it created them more time. And there's that concept of by creating something that allows us more time because there is efficiency, if well stewarded, we should be able to use technology such that we don't really have to work all the time.
Yeah.
But we didn't do that. Why? We have more technology. We have enough technology now to literally do almost everything, yet we are working more than people ever have.
It's overwhelming, isn't it?
What happened? And so if that's not an indication of where we've gone wrong in the way we've designed everything.
What is? Well, I'm a great supporter of like open source technology because I believe that the original idea of technology was to help humanity, right?
Yeah.
And lots of people were giving their time to creating free platforms and things and software and things. But then obviously capitalism came in. Corporations came in, monetized it. It became, they locked their IP in and it became billion-dollar businesses. And that is huge and no one can compete against them, right?
Yeah.
But there's still amazing open source technology out there today. And phones, you can have the open source, Linux, like computing systems. So I believe that if we support more open source systems as well, I think that, we need to move away from supporting such huge big tech and all these big companies that are just basically monopolizing the entire world, you know?
Yeah.
I think then we could go down the better technology path, you know?
Sure.
Which, because open source also is simpler, which is nice. It kind of like slows you down a bit more, you know, instead of so much stuff going on, so many apps and so many things, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the challenge that everybody is faced with in this current moment is like, I would love to walk away from big tech.
Yeah.
Right. But
It's
if
difficult,
I don't, then I don't have the money to do what I need to do. Therefore, I have to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck in choosing to have to do it. Then if I decide, okay, well, maybe I'll do it only a little bit. And then, so if I do it only a little bit, but all my competitors are going to do it a lot.
They got the advantage.
Then they're going to have the advantage. And then eventually I'm just going to weasel out anyway.
Yeah.
And so you have all of these multipolar traps everywhere where ultimately everybody is doing in the short term what is oftentimes a little bit harmful or very harmful in order to stay within the ability to play the game. And our system design is designed such that that's just how it functions at this moment. And it's very hard to get out of it. And so without having a conversation about, you know, and this is not something that a single person can have or a single organization can have, but something that has to happen on a cultural scale is, how do we want to redesign society? Because that is literally the level of change that needs to happen. And if I take that and you believe that, if you believe that, you're going to now see immediately what the problem is having a largely conservative mindset in the alternative media space. The only people thinking about alternative stuff are people who are ultra conservative, who would never want to change the system as it's currently designed. And I shouldn't say never want to change it. They wouldn't want to change it very much, right? They would want small, get these people out, get that people out, right? But they would still accept their own slavery as long as Trump's in power, right? Like stuff like that. So it's a very tricky cultural moment to have meaningful conversations about solving the problems that we're actually facing.
And like politically, like U.S. politics right now is at the every single media everywhere, right? Right now we're living more right-wing sort of politics in the USA, but before the left-wing was ridiculous as well, right? I mean,
100%.
So which one's good in the end? It's like none, right?
Neither.
Stuff,
It's like at the end of the day, if we ideologically trap ourselves in these like corporate-driven ideological boxes, which is essentially what political parties are, it's like a way of collecting a bunch of people under an idea. And they represent one arm of the mafia and here's another arm of the mafia, let's just say, or they represent the same thing at the end. I mean, who knows the exact structure of power? But the point is it's like, what evidence do we have that the way we've been doing it is producing a good result? And is it suffice to just say, well, you know, socialism's bad, communism's bad, and so what we have must be good. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that really how you want to live? Where you just say, well, I mean, it's good.
Not really. We need to solve the issues, right? At some point.
It's good enough.
So here we have a lot of our listeners who are viewers who come here. That obviously they come here to disconnect and relax, and which kind of the ethos goes very much with what you're writing, right? So if you could like tell them what in a way, how does your collective evolution media outlet help them? How can it help them with their daily life? How can it help them regulate, you know, what would be the best way to describe it to them so they can understand why they might want to go in and read it and understand it?
Sure. It happens on layers. I would say a lot of the times if you're exploring the subjects that we cover, you're going to see language, you're going to see ideas, you're going to see framings of the topics that are not inflammatory. They're not we're not trying to incite rage. We're not trying to get people upset. We're not trying to force people into an idea. It's reflective, right? We're trying to get people to ask questions, explore, be curious, right? So there's a lot of language that people often find soothing, and I don't mean soothing as in passively soothing, but more so I'm learning about something that is generally weird to learn about or controversial to learn about, but I feel okay, right? You will find content that is like personal transformation driven. So a lot of the stuff we've been doing lately because of my training has kind of really been in the realm of the nervous system stuff. So you can find different practices and different ways of thinking about the nervous system in all areas of life.
That's definitely something we'll need to learn more about because we're not taught anything in school. It's like so hard to, you really have to almost find like go down a rabbit hole and find the information, right? Yeah. Especially the methods to release it all from your body and everything.
Sure, which is tricky, but there's, creating somewhat of a lifestyle that is more focused on how to slow down as a human, like
Yeah.
truly, is important,
Absolutely.
right? And how to do that and not just, let's say, calm ourselves, but actually bring regulation to the system where the body can do what it needs to do when it needs to do it, and then
Yeah.
return back to a point of feeling okay.
And where do you see Joe and the collective evolution in the next 5 years? Have you thought about the next 5 years?
I definitely have a lot of ideas around what I've always wanted to do that we were about to do before everything went sideways. But really getting into the education realm more. So one of the challenges that we learned over the years is like you can put out a lot of information, a lot of media, a lot of different practices, different things for people, but there's an element of really embodying these ideas, like really embodying them, not just intellectually knowing them, that is oftentimes absent.
Yep.
And I think it's because, I mean, we learn best in like groups and communities and together and being around each other and doing different things. And most people that were consuming this stuff were just at home by themselves,
stuck
learning.
on your screen, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So I would like to get more into being able to provide education around anything from nervous system stuff to rethinking different worldviews. Like what would it look like? What would it feel like in a community to explore what an interconnected worldview would look like? And then let's discuss how that might come into being. How can we embody that? How can we get stuff out of the way such that emerges, right? So how do we get some of the old ideas out, right? Like deprogramming in a sense.
The old paradigms,
and so a lot of this kind of would go back to the framework that we've kind of existed off of for a very long time, which is breaking the illusion, awakening neutrality and connection, deprogramming the limitations, which is everything you learned from the illusion, and then living aligned to that, which is just embodying it, like truly embodying it. And that framework has kind of been the guiding ideas behind how we and what we create.
Well, I don't know what everyone else is thinking, but I'm kind of thinking that you're the perfect guy to come here and do workshops and take care of all the people who are listening and watching us now and show them all how to improve their life and everything. So that's the, as you said, one-on-one and things. So I definitely love to see you here helping people out in the future. That'd be amazing. Do you have any closing comments you'd like to make? Any to our audience? Would you like to say anything to them before we leave? Obviously, follow Joe. We're publishing the links on the in the channel and everywhere to the polls, Collective Evolution, everything else you give us. So hopefully people will follow you and learn more about you. Yeah. And is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience before we leave?
Yeah, I would just say that really consider what it's like, what it would mean for you to embody a new way of seeing the world, a new worldview, a new consciousness. And not just in, let's say, a practice that you might do daily, but how that worldview, how that consciousness would interact with different areas of your life, your relationships, your work, the things that are about our society that are very easy to judge. Yeah. And how would a new worldview respond to our current moment?
I think the way I feel as well is like, not everyone's ready even, right?
Sure.
I mean, how many people are willing to even question, right? You got to be naturally curious to want to know things. A lot of people just don't want to know as well, which is okay as well. It's the journey they chose as well, right?
Sure.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But if they're watching this, they probably are asking.
I think hopefully that's the idea, right? Yeah. Brilliant. Well, Joe, it's been amazing having you on. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the openness and everything you've told us, and hope to see you around, and let's get you here teaching people stuff. Thank you.
That's all. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
No worries. Take care, brother. See you soon.
Oh.